Okay, our special guest this afternoon has come from Berlin, Germany especially. Please make him feel very welcome indeed, Mr. Alex Barck. How you feeling?
Nervous.
Yeah, me too a bit actually. Thank you very much for joining us. Could you introduce yourself, maybe in a sentence, just for people that aren't familiar with your work and the labels that you're affiliated to?
Okay, my name is Alex Barck. I was born in Germany, Eastern Germany, and what I do now is actually Jazzanova and Sonar Kollektiv, the label, and yeah, that's it. I mean, I can talk much more about
we'll get there,
how it all was and how it became the band and stuff.
I think one of the things that most people that are familiar with Jazzanova and those that aren't as well find most confusing is who is Jazzanova and who makes up the group. I mean, this is something we can touch on later on in the session. But just to fill us in the picture, Jazzanova is not just you, right?
No, we are 6 people. 3 people are like more or less studio engineers, and they run 2 studios in Berlin in one complex. And there are 3 others which started as a DJ team together back in the day, around like 95, I would say.
And one of them is you?
One of them is me. And we joined forces when the club we were playing in, a very small club in Berlin, wanted to have tunes of us, of all DJs who were playing in the club, and we said, yeah, it's nice, but we can't do it. But we were introduced to some hip-hop producers back then, and they showed us how to make a song, actually. And we came up with very crazy ideas, and they said, "It's no way," because it wasn't possible to just take the beat out of something. Obviously, there are rules if you make music, and you all probably know that it's not that easy sometimes. And but they produced hip-hop records back then. German hip-hop acts. It's not necessary to mention the names because they are not known really.
Well, some of us might know the names, so tell us.
Yeah, they had a band called A Real Dope Thing, which was they were rapping in English, which was really bad. And sorry for my English, it's not the best either. But so they had a hip-hop background, and we had we came from a record collectors background, and and for them it was quite interesting because they were always looking for samples, and we had quite unusual records for them to play because they were a bit limited back in the day when all the Ultimate Breaks and Beats records came out. So everybody more or less sampled the same breaks, and we came up with Brazilian records or Latin American records, and for them it opened on the sample side something, and for us, of course, because we couldn't play any instrument, and even the studio was very new for us.
Yeah, so considering that Jazzanova then represents, both the production and DJ side, if there are are there natural roles within the clan that different people do, and if so, what's yours?
That's difficult. I'm more or less the man in the middle. I'm not a very good office worker myself, and I like to be in the studio, and I try to get the studio guys going and come up with the ideas, and more or less we have the same background and we speak the same language because the studio guys are from the East as well, so we always hang together a bit tighter, and the other DJs, Jürgen and Klaas, they run the label more or less, and they have much more to do. Actually, the work I don't like really, and yeah, that's it.
Well, seeing as we're not interviewing the Jazzanova Collective and we're interviewing you, I think it'd be interesting to talk about, you know, first and foremost, your background musically before we get into the detail of all of that, and where you're from originally, because as far as I'm aware, that's got a pretty important influence in your musical background, right?
Yeah, I was growing up in the eastern Berlin, and it was quite hard actually to buy records. And it wasn't not really possible to buy records.
So could you just, I mean, if just in case there isn't anyone that's maybe aware of Berlin pre-1990, could you just fill us in what the difference between East and West Berlin at that time is?
Yeah, of course. It was Berlin was divided in two big parts. It was the eastern side was ruled by like the Russians, and it was obviously more communistic, and then the western side was Americanized, I would say, and so it was just a wall in the middle of the city.
So it was kind of capitalist west, communist east, right?
Yeah, it was actually an interesting place. It still is. If you go to Berlin, you still have that feeling that there's a difference between the parts of the city. Now everything is concentrating in the east because it's new, it's fresh, all the subcultural things are taking place there. I live in the west now. It's more quiet there. And I mean, you couldn't buy records. There was the possibility to listen to radio. I mean, there's one guy from Dresden, he had probably problems to listen to the radio back then, but in Berlin it was possible. You had all the British army camps, you had the Americans having their army stations.
So you mean that radio that was essentially designed for West Berlin could be picked up in East Berlin?
Yes, and I think that was the plan anyway, to get the music to the people, or informations or whatever. And back then I was listening to a lot of like Western radio. Westwood, the hip-hop DJ who is on Radio 1 now, he had a show on the British station back then. And it was, information-wise, very, very good. And it wasn't format radio at all. It was very made by people, and you had that feeling that certain people have a special taste and they play it in the radio then. There was another girl, her name was Monika Dietel. She was playing a mixture out of hip-hop, disco, and weird electro stuff. And I have tons of tapes from back then, and I recorded everything, even the bullshit radio, even rock pop. For me, music was quite essential. It was my hobby.
And this is teenage years for you?
Yeah, 12 years old maybe. I started to record with a very bad mono tape recorder from my father. And I have like tons of music, good and bad ones. And when the wall came down, it was like a release for me actually. The wall came down, I went to a record store.
But so am I right in thinking that basically that whole period that you can hear the music from the radio but you can't buy it, right?
Yes, that was the problem.
Right.
And sometimes you had like the 30th copy of an LP because somebody's auntie was in the West and could bring a Morrissey record, and you recorded it then, and stuff like that. Or like the older people, they were allowed to travel. And for instance, the grandma of my partner, Stefan, the producer, the hip-hop guy, she had to go to hip-hop stores and bring Public Enemy records and bring them back to Berlin, which wasn't that easy.
Was that like basically smuggling? You had to smuggle the records in, right?
Yes. Yeah. An 80-year-old lady with
80-year-old Public Enemy smuggler.
And yeah, that was it. And when the wall came down, I went nuts. I've been to the first like normal record store, and they had all the records I've ever dreamt of. And yeah, then I started to buy music first, like all the stuff I always wanted to have.
So in a way, not being able to have the records made you the record collecting nutter that you've become now.
Yeah, funny enough is in the East there were actually some records which later we even reissued on our label, which were quite interesting. Like you had the Polish jazz scene was quite strong. There were a lot of records, like from the Novi Singers, a very famous vocal group, or even Cuban jazz. Yeah, I found some Cuban jazz records in my parents' collection, and yeah, I think actually, if I would have known before that all these records are so rare now, I would be a rich man.
Do you have a particular record, song, tune, whatever from that period, that early period in your life that sums up?
I mean, yeah, I have one.
Yeah.
Just downloaded it. Sorry. I was into guitar music back then, and this is a song by Morrissey, which is quite important for us, or for me. It brought me really into folky, rock-orientated things. I play it for you. So it was obviously more like really DJ, or let's say teenager music, not DJ music. And yeah, I was young, and that was, if you're in love with a girl, perfect.
So that's, I mean, as much of an influence on your taste in music, that type of music, as is the kind of jazz and contemporary music.
Yeah, I mean, I started like that. I mean, I think I have a very normal music taste. I'm not a specialist in anything, really. I think everybody is a bit like that. And you get the record collection of your parents, you find an Elvis record, you listen to it, and maybe you like a song even. And then you do your teenager thing, and you buy records that your parents don't like, and then you end up like loving the same records again like your parents. And so I think it's just you can have so many different musical backgrounds, and this is just one thing for me, and it was quite important. It was the time when you're 16, 17 and you try to find yourself, and this is what music is also for, I think.
And so post 1990, when everything changed for you, apart from the fact that you're obviously influenced by radio DJs as well, did you start to become influenced by club DJs also? Were you going out at that time?
Yes, I did the whole program. I mean, when the wall came down, techno was big in Berlin, or some people think it was invented there. Whatever. And yeah, I did the whole program. I was young. For me, it was totally new. Like back in the day, that's a funny story. I mean, this kind of music was played by one, like, how is it called? Like mobile DJ who is on the road with his system. And he was from the East and as well, and he's now one of the most famous trance DJs, Paul van Dyk. I knew him from back then, and he was playing Morrissey and the Smiths and stuff like that. And he moved to the West before the wall came down. And I met him after the wall came down again. He said, "Yeah, I have a new thing going." "What is it?" "Techno." I was, "What's that?" "You know, it's machines and it's very steady." And I was, "No, that must be horrible," because I was like more like an acoustic guy. And then I saw him like playing the stuff and was really impressed how it sounds and the energy. And
so what were the first techno records that you really got into?
You know what? I was just enjoying it, going to parties. I didn't buy it back then. Right now, when people play me some, whatever, DJ Pierre or more the housey side of techno, then it's, I said, yeah, I know that tune from back then. It was one of my favorites, but right now for me, house and techno is more or less the new rare groove. And I try to get all the old, interesting house records again, because it's, interesting, but you have to, make that move first.
So from Morrissey to the sound that people would associate with Jazzanova, whatever that might be, is quite a way. In the middle, what was it that really made you decide what your musical vision was, and did meeting the other members of your collective have an influence in that?
I had a very good friend in Berlin, and he was a member of the first German hip-hop group. And they had self-made turntables, and which were really funny to look at. And they couldn't scratch really. It was it was not really good. And but this guy was already deeply into sample digging, and he played me some amazing hip-hop tunes. And then the originals, and that was a kind of sport we had then. I was so into it. We really wanted to find out, for instance, Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique. We wanted to find every sample on that record, which he did actually, and that was a big fascination going from there. And I mean, hip-hop was just one thing. I knew hip-hop before, but when I found out how they did it, it became even more interesting for me. It was like, if you're young and you listen to hip-hop, it's about the lyrics, but if you can't understand the lyrics really, like me, then, back then my English was not existing, and then it's something really interesting, because if you listen to, for instance, A Tribe Called Quest, and then somebody shows you all the samples of that record, then it's like, wow, how they did it. Is it illegal? And I think there's a certain kind of fascination, magic going from that thing, yeah.
So a lot of jazz and breaks records, basically, you were discovering in a way through hip-hop.
Yeah, I discovered the whole world of black-rooted music via hip-hop.
Right.
The first song which really got me into it is this one. I played for you. Huh? Is it coming?
Bob James Nautilus, right?
Yes, it is. And for me, it was not just a sampled record. It was a magical tune somehow. When I heard it first, it was like, I thought, yeah, that's it. I don't need another record anymore. And then, of course, I needed some others. But for me, it was, it was a tune which was sampled first, so 1 point, but then I could listen to it, over and over again, because it's so deep, it's floating, that really made me think about, making music, really, because that's the music I wanted to do back then. And some others did cover versions of it, like Masters at Work, and thousands of hip-hop guys sampled it, and it's like a, Bob James is probably rich now because of that.
It's interesting that you should mention your sample finding obsession, because on your record, on the Jazzanova album, there's a track called Love and You and I, which is basically, is that the tune I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
The one, which is almost like a tribute to all of the classic breaks.
Yeah.
Is that what it's intended to be? Is it almost like a homage to all the classic breaks you found?
Yes, this one, obviously. Yeah, that's, definitely. And there's another one on the first record called Another New Day, which had a breakdown as well in the middle. And we really thought, we want to do a song which is actually which could fit on a Ultimate Breaks and Beats record,
Right.
and some hip hop DJs just should cut it and rap on top. That was a crazy idea we had.
But the one that starts with all the different breaks is Loving
No,
You
that's
and I.
Loving You and I.
Yeah, should we hear a bit of that?
We can. Thank you. The funny thing is that the people really think that it's all like cut it really, but there's actually just a drum track and all the other samples are fitted in there, so it was quite a work to do, but you know, it always takes time when we do our music, so it was a long-term thing.
Yeah, it definitely sounds pretty precise.
Mm.
When did that record come out?
It's quite old now. It's 2002.
So how many albums, like artist albums, has Jazzanova done?
One. Yeah. Yeah.
And is there plans for another one?
It's we are nearly there, and it's a bit different. We try to get more a live feel into it. The first album was sample based only, and there was just one vibraphone player and some singers, and the rest was really sample based, and so we got into trouble quite often. Obviously the original writers of the music, they had problems when we used little stuff. But for the next album there will be not this problem, because we played everything live and we tried to put it on stage and with a band and stuff.
So let's talk about Jazzanova now. Who are the other members of Jazzanova, and what is Jazzanova?
It's difficult to say really. I mean, we were lucky. I have to say that a big part of our group, of our community, is the chemistry between the 6 people. Yeah, it's I think it's very respectful in a way, and we all have one love, which is music, and it's hard to describe really. Some journalists always ask me, what's the sound of Jazzanova? What is it really? I can't really say. For me, it's just always time to like move on and discover new things, and it's probably about that that you always have to define yourself a little bit new, and without losing the contact to your fan base, which is probably easier for us because we have a signature sound. I think when our main musical man Stefan, when he's doing tracks and beats and how he's treating samples or how he writes songs, it's it's very unique, I would say, and I think this is one like core of Jazzanova, that you always hear it could be a Jazzanova song. So producers probably know when they listen to the first notes if it's one of ours, but I don't know. We are always looking as DJs as well as from a label perspective, or as the group Jazzanova. We are looking for certain moments in music. It's not about just having uplifting moments or sad moments. It's just about a certain kind of energy which touches the people and makes something with them, and we try to reach that level with the music, and that's why it takes so long because it's not easy.
Yeah, and it can't be easy with that many people involved. I mean, in the next 2 weeks we're going to have quite a few rooms with at least 6 people making a tune together. I mean, what's your process of making a tune together? Is it difficult? I mean, that many chefs surely makes things longer, no? Or does it make things quicker?
It's actually, we found this way of that just one of the DJs and one of the producers work together for one tune.
Right.
The others, of course, can say what they think as an input, of course, but if it comes to the making of a song, we do it in little teams, like 2 people, that's it. And that's easy then, again. So, but you have all the others, and if you're on the wrong track, they will tell you, definitely.
And in terms of the collective thing, I mean, you know, when you go out, if you see Jazzanova on a flyer, you know, it might be you, it might be Jürgen, it might be Klaas. I mean, how do you deal with that in terms of your DJ schedules? Does that make your life easier, the fact that you can actually be in 3 different places at once? Or does it, you know, are people confused by that? Have you found that to be an hindrance?
I think that's confused, yeah. The people, that's very confusing. I mean, that's maybe one of our biggest problems, that like people always expect a live band, even if we do, like in every interview we try to explain what we do, how we are, and then suddenly you come to town and you have a big flyer with 6 people on it, and you more or less see guitars and drums in your head, and then one DJ is coming. Yeah, it's a bit of a problem, and we carry that problem for years now. But for the next album, it will be different. I mean, the whole idea of Jazzanova is based in the DJ culture, and we try to move on. And explaining is a thing you sometimes have to do about your music. But it helps as well, because in the beginning nobody knew about Jazzanova. Everybody said, it's a band. No, they're from Japan. And stuff like that. And it helped a lot to create a certain kind of mystery around us. And I think it helped us as well, because people really didn't know what it's all about.
Is there ever a time, I mean, as the musical landscape's changed around you in the last 10 years, are all your musical tastes still exactly the same? Has there ever been a time where you've heard one of your friends and colleagues DJing and you thought, I don't know if that really fits the Jazzanova imprint? Or, you know, how important is it that you all stay within a certain understanding of where the boundaries of what you are about are?
I mean, I think we are like an old couple. Right now there are just like 2 DJs, Jürgen and me.
Okay.
And I mean, even if he's playing different, I feel it, and he's one of my favorite DJs. So I like to listen to him, and I hope the other way around is the same. No, we are in close contact. We play each other's songs. I mean, that's how we knew each other back then. He played me Brazilian music and jazz, and I played him house music and like more modern club-orientated music, and it melted together somehow. And the fact that we don't play so often together has a result, obviously, that I play different than him. But I think that's good. It continues the mystic vibe of us. So people really don't know what to expect, and I prefer that, actually. If the people come to a place and they don't know if it will be hip-hop, soul music, just old stuff or new stuff or mixed, I think from a DJ perspective it helped us a lot to be flexible, to be able to play the people everything, and for many people it's sometimes a surprise, but I like that. I like surprises, and I rather be a DJ who is like, I don't know how it was really, than, oh yeah, it was a perfect mix. That's it, yeah, it can be boring. I rather be somebody who stands for everything and nothing, and makes the people interested in things. And yeah.
And in terms of the numbers and how you work it out, I mean, as we know, in the past 10 years, as each month passes, you know, making a living out of releasing music becomes more of an uphill challenge. Yeah. How do you, when there's so many people involved, how is it financially possible to make sure everyone survives off doing music full time, or do you not do it full time?
Yeah, we. There's actually quite a communistic idea as well. all the music which is owned under the name Jazzanova as DJs or the publishing or record sales, we share it through 6 people. Everybody gets the same money. The studio guys get them also the money from the DJ side, and
so when you do a DJ gig as well,
every gig is divided through 6 people, and that helped us a lot to stay together, because we are around now for like nearly 12 years or something like that, and we can all live from that. I mean, we will not be rich people really, or hopefully we will, but till now it's like we can make a living, that's okay. And because we put everything together in one pot, and we have the label, on the label side there's sometimes money to earn, and we have production, publishing, radio show, and all that together makes some money which we share.
And before we talk about the other collective, which is the Sonar Kollektiv, the label, I quite like to hear, I don't know, you guys want to hear another tune? I'd definitely like to hear another Jazzanova tune, maybe something that you feel, best sums up what we've been talking about.
I can play you something from the new album, which is a world premiere, so this is to get a picture. To get a picture how it's gonna be. Check this. Yeah, we have to mix
Exclusive.
It sounds still a bit. Yeah, that's on a new album. There will be a lot of like more classic material.
Who's singing on that one?
It's Paul Randolph.
And it's all live, right?
It's all live, yeah. I mean, the beats are programmed like always, and the rest is live.
So let me ask you this. I mean, in a lot of certainly mainstream media, the word jazz is definitely almost a dirty word. Like it'll turn a lot of people off. It's quite brave of you to use that word in the title of your, collective. Why did you choose the name Jazzanova, and what exactly does it mean?
It was really like, it was just like a normal, we started the DJ team, and we thought, okay, what do we play? And it's obviously everything jazzy, and Jazzanova, I found a record on a German label called Jazzanova, so I thought, it's not such a bad name, and obviously like many people who are not into jazz would say, no, I don't listen to this kind of music, but I have the feeling that it helped us, because it's a very straight word. Jazzanova works in every language, and I mean, there are enough jazz fans, and even if they're not jazz fans, when they listen to us, maybe they get into jazz. It's the same idea like how when I got into jazz back in the day, I was listening to modern music, but jazz was suddenly there, and it plays still an important role for us. And for me, jazz is not, it's not just the music, it's more or less a way of how you live, how you feel music, and how you listen to music. It's a open mindedness which makes you listen with the heart more than with the ears sometimes. And I want to keep that openness for myself and for the listeners, because suddenly everything changes and you like Brazilian music, and before you was a hard rock fan, that's possible, I think. And I like those transitions, and I like to play music to people which make them think about music and not only consuming it, without too much of infotainment, of course. But it's one thing of Jazzanova I would say is quite important, to make people getting into something.
And when you DJ, right, I mean, it really is, you change tempos and styles almost every record.
Yeah, I would like to. Yes, I mean, there was a time where I did it really often. It changed a little bit, I have to say. My perspective of how club music should be is a bit different, and like back in the day, I combined a hip hop track with a soul or with a funk track, disco, and then I was into house, and it was all hopefully possible to follow. Not always, probably, but it changed when I see myself now as a DJ. I'm standing in the club, and I've learned about the dynamics of how people listen to music and how they dance to, and I try to keep it a bit more steady nowadays, and but at the same time play the music, which makes them, which creates the same feeling like going from here to there. I like those bridges from playing a hard or a deep techno tune and then landing in soul. Yeah, that's.
And that diversity is also probably best reflected by some of the people that have asked you to remix for them. Can you give us some example of some of the artists that Jazzanova have done remixes for?
We did several remixes, yeah. The Masters at Work, that was a big pleasure to remix them because they were heroes for us, obviously. And whatever, for Hero, we remixed Incognito. Back then, all the Talking Loud artists were remixed because Jazz Peterson worked for Talking Loud, and he liked us so much. And some others. There's recently we did a mix for Common.
Which track was that?
That's a good question. Go. It was a very limited release for Germany only, so a bit hard to get, but it's in the internet probably somewhere. And I mean, I don't know what the people really expect from us because it's always a bit different. I think they more or less want to be surprised, I hope.
I think I remember, was it the Ian Pooley track? That was the remix, right?
Yeah, that was one of the biggest.
Because I mean, as far as I remember, when that came out, that really crossed over to house DJs, some tech DJs, like loads of different people were into that tune. That was a big catapult for you, right?
Yeah, but it was a bit too fast actually.
Yeah.
Because we just did a track. I wasn't really happy, and I thought, I'm not sure, and we didn't have time. We did it in like 3-4 days, which is really quick for us. But they said, yeah, we want to have it, and then it was there, and suddenly all the house DJs started to play that, and house promoters booked us, and that was, for me, it was too fast, and I played suddenly for 2,000 people, and I was like, try to play hip-hop, and everybody was like, what the hell he wants from us? Yeah. And that was a time where I had to learn a lot about the dynamics of clubs and bigger clubs.
What year was that? Was that like the 90s?
Probably 99. Yeah, 99.
Do you have that with you?
I have it somewhere. Should I?
Yeah, if it's quick, it definitely might be worth hearing that, because that's a...
I don't know. Maybe it's here. Oh. It's not coming out. I hope I find it. Yeah, quick.
So, just while you find that, Alex is actually playing it off a double CD that came out, which is called the Jazz.
Yeah, that was actually influenced by in London. There was this little two-step thing going on back in the day, and I was really impressed by by these parties. I had a friend, Noodles from Chronicles, and he showed me the parties, and he showed me all the good records of the scene, because there were like tons of crap material, but there were some really good tunes. And there's actually one tune I like to play as an inspirational tune for me, because it was really the tune for me back in the day. One moment. It is a Groove Chronicles remix.
Like 1997.
Yeah, 1997. Okay.
What the Sia joint?
This one. It's a hip-hop sample as well. Yeah, and so on. The good thing about this tune is, I think, you get the people on the floor because it's very heavy. The bass is nice in the club, and it saves the music towards the end. Right now it's just deep, and the original is actually really crap, and the remix is so nice and deep. And they used also a hip-hop sample, which I really like, by a rock band actually called The Circle. The track is called The Wizard, and that's the little vocal in the beginning. Tribe Called Quest, they used it as well. And I was really impressed by this kind of music, and the deep two-step thing. And if you listen to the Ian Pooley remix we just heard before, it has similarities, and I know that, for instance, not only house heads but only two-step guys played it. So
when it was actually at a reasonable tempo.
yeah.
So let's talk about your label.
It's Sonar Kollektiv.
I think any label, independent label that has existed, this year is 2007. Sonar Kollektiv was founded in 97, which makes this your 10-year anniversary. I think any record label that survives 10 years deserves a round of applause in itself. So congratulations on surviving. And what's the secret to survival in the indie record game?
It's not easy. I mean, right now I would say it was just a crazy idea doing that label, but we need so much time to create music, and we thought in the meantime we can actually release others people music. So that was the beginning, and we started like getting people into it, like DJ Dixon, for instance. He took care of the houseier side of things on the label. Then we had Daniel Best from Best 7, who was more like dub and reggae, and we had like several mini A&Rs in the team, and they helped us discovering music we probably didn't know. Like Daniel more or less discovered Fat Freddy's Drop for us, and Dixon came up with Arm, and Amy, and we had good people around us, and that was the secret, that good music came to us. And then, like when all the big distribution companies went bankrupt, we had major problems. So a lot of the money we needed for the cash flow was just not there anymore. We had big trouble, and we had to go to the bank and borrow money and stuff. And we had several points where we had to decide: do we move on, or do we stop here? And we always moved on, and it probably has something to do with our love for music, and because there's always something interesting new coming. And from a business point of view, it's a bit silly sometimes to do albums, but I love music of Dim Light, for instance, which is somehow not sellable, but it touches me. I see the artistical approach in it, and it has to come out somehow. I have the feeling, and even if we pay for it and don't earn any money, but music can be a payment as well. And in terms of what we earn with a collective, it's music, and that's a good thing. And I'm always happy if there's something interesting around and we can get it for our label.
I mean, from a DJ perspective who's lucky enough to get the promos and see the product, it just seems like it's just a phenomenal output. There's always stuff coming out. I mean, how many people do you have running the label, and how do you keep up that tempo of releases all the time?
To be honest with you, I would like to do less releases. Actually, right now it's more or less a cash flow thing for us. I mean, I can be happy because I don't need to put out stuff I don't like. Right. But to make all the structure work, we have like 4 people working for us, and we have in every bigger territory like the UK, US, Australia, Japan, France and Germany, we have promo agencies, and they cost a lot of money. And I mean, I don't really know if you really can earn money with record sales. I'm not sure about that. It's really the number of records we sell is just to make it work. And I know now why pop music is so successful sometimes, because they invest in stuff which is which is definitely, let's say, which brings the money back immediately. Yeah, it's not a long-term relationship in the most cases, but for them it makes sense. We have to think differently. We have a big catalog, and with all the new releases, we also offer the old releases, and we try to make it like going around. And sometimes a record just sells over the time, and not just like that.
But I mean, clearly when you started in 1997, pretty much everyone that was into contemporary music or DJ-based music was buying vinyl. You know, in fact, everyone's buying vinyl if you're into that kind of music at that time. If now a lot has changed, if for someone that's thinking about starting a record label in that traditional sense tomorrow, would you say do it or don't?
I always say, if you believe in it, do it. I just can say that the digital side of things changed a lot, even for us. I mean, we are vinyl lovers. We would actually put everything on vinyl. And but from a business point of view, it's very difficult right now, because the turnover you get from a vinyl, 60% of that money is to make the vinyl. And you can't earn money with it. Maybe if you sell like 10,000, then it will be possible. But we changed a little bit our strategy. If there's the people who are buying vinyl now are really DJs, I think. Yeah. And if there's like a DJ tune, like Roland Apple, Dark Soldier, he's sitting there. Then we have to put it on vinyl, obviously, and it sells, and then it's good. But in terms of getting the money back, a CD is much more efficient.
What's good? Give me an idea of what's good in terms of vinyl sales in 2007, because obviously it's changed a bit. I mean, say, what's a good selling 12-inch? How many copies is that on vinyl?
On our label?
Yeah, I think just generally for like independent, for want of a better description, dance music.
Is Defected an independent label?
Yeah.
Okay, then I think if you sell, let's say it like that. If we sell 5,000 vinyl, then it's good. Mm-hmm. Then we are all happy. Everything before, I would say, it's promotional material, or helps the DJ go on tour or something like that. But it really depends. If you like, as a label, a one-man show, then you can sell 500 and still earn money with it. But if you like in the level we have now with a bigger structure, to sell more records, then you obviously need to sell more records to get the same profit out of it. And that's a little bit of the problem. Yeah, if I would start a label right now, I would do it alone and just on my own. But I have the knowledge now how it works. If you start, you need people to make it. But I would never start a label on my own because it's crazy and it's a really hard time right now. If you love music, then it's difficult anyway. If you don't see just the business side of things, then it's hard to earn any money with it. And but I told you, it's sometimes just about the music, which for me it would be enough. But if you want to live from it, then it's difficult.
I mean, obviously the label that you run is very much still in the model of the traditional record label, with an A&R guy that signs it, presses up vinyl, sells it, licensing and everything. For how much longer do you think that traditional model of record label is going to be relevant? And also, have you got, I mean, everyone has their own idea of where it might go, whether you're selling tunes through MySpace or Facebook, what the next thing is. Do you have an idea of what that might be?
Not really. I just guess how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like, have you heard about that Prince record which came out with a newspaper in the UK? Just
that was for free, yeah.
That was for free. I think it will go this direction. I think there will be more and more like joint ventures of like bigger like companies with money who give the artist straight away all their royalties and possible sales money, and then they can polish their image with an artist for the bigger artists, obviously, and for the high-profile artists. But I think this is a way it could go, because music, at least, is supposed to be played live on stage, and there's a listener, and he is listening to it. It's just an idea. It's not. The record itself is nothing. The record is just a medium. The CD is a media, but the music is free of that. And I think it will be free again one day. You know what I mean? That there is the music here and the listener there, and you can just listen and enjoy it. And I still don't know how the artist will be paid, but there will be a way, I'm sure. It's just an idea, but I'm not so into it. I have to say I like the old model a lot, and you can't really change from now to tomorrow to another model. You have to move there. I mean, when we see how our digital stuff is growing slowly but surely, we know maybe in 5 years it will be only digital. I don't know. It's, save some oil.
Can you tell us some artists that are on the label, and then maybe play us something that best represents Sonar Kollektiv?
We have on the label several things. We have Clara Hill, she's a Berlin-based singer. She is just releasing her third album, which is a bit more folky. Then we have Christian Promise Drum Lessons, which is a jazz formation which plays club classics more or less. It's quite good because
like a club hits covers band.
Yeah, more or less, but it's made very well. So they recorded this album in one day because they are so gifted. This is really like a very spontaneous record. We just had this idea and they did it, and it's perfect. Yeah, I can play one track. Can I play another track, not Strings of Life? I play my favorite. Okay. This is
Right, competition time. First person to shout out the original artist and title of that track wins the CD. There you go. There you go. And the winner is... So, Sonar Kollektiv, what's the future? Where are we going?
The future is... yeah, that's a good question. The future is already there. I don't know. We try to reduce a little bit the releases because it's too much right now. Actually, we need more time to breathe again and to prepare everything even more. I mean, we have a very good team. They're very tight, and it's all working and it's nice. But it will be like always, like a on-moving thing. We have to explain every day new what we really want to do, and for ourselves and for the others. And that's more or less the profile of the label, just explaining all the time.
Mm. And the Dixon Innovisions thing, is that part of Sonar Kollektiv?
Not anymore.
Okay, but Dixon was kind of on the house side of Sonar Kollektiv.
Yeah, he did the Recreation series, and we started together the Innovision thing, and I'm actually sad and a bit proud as well that he did it alone then.
Okay.
He wanted to stand on his own feet, and it's totally okay with us. And I mean, it was really one of the most successful records. We put it out, the Ray from Ame. That was a big selling record for us, and of course we are a bit sad that they are gone now.
Oh, I see, right.
But we will definitely do together some CD projects and
but
stuff
it's still
like that.
family.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, and in terms of releases that you have coming up on Sonar Kollektiv in the next few months, what's that?
Yeah, we try to get this new mixing compilation done by For Hero. They do a mixing compilation.
Cool.
Then it's the Fat Freddy's Drop album for next year, the new one. Then it's Roland Apple's album, which is a overkiller for the DJs, a must. And what else do we have? We have the Jazzanova album coming.
And when is that coming? When is that coming?
That's a good question, no. Yeah, and
It's been
many other...
It's been a good question for about 6.5 years. When is that one coming?
I think it's in May.
It's in May?
May.
Okay.
That's the plan, and it looks good.
Cool.
And what else? I mean, so many things. There's a new computer incarnation compilation coming out with like more the modern side of cosmic whatever disco, and which is compiled by Gert Jansson, here, one of your boys. And what else? Tons of stuff, I think. There's actually a quite nice project. We do a German wine guide with Rainer Trüby. He's a wine expert, and he's doing a book.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Moving
for
into
Christmas.
Wine publishing. Yeah.
You know what? We were bored. We put it out like label compilations, 1, 2, 3, and the people like, 1, 2, 3, 5, 4. And we said, okay, we have to change a little bit because a friend of mine once told me there's nothing more boring than a record label releasing records. And in a way, that's true. I sometimes think to get the music to people, you can try it differently. So, like the wine guide, what we do now, or the cookbook, what we do last year.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Cookbook.
Yeah, it was a cookbook. Okay. This is more or less like a Sonar compilation in a stealth mode, so you really don't know what it is, but at least it's a compilation. We bring the music on it to the people, and from a different angle. And
Does it come with a CD?
Yeah,
right.
The CD is inside, and it's obviously compiled by us, and it's music from our label. but it has it's a different idea of getting it to the people, and it really works. We thought, okay, the first Sonar Kollektiv compilation was good sales, then it was okay, and then slowly but surely, you know how it is, like if it comes every year and the people, new one. But if you pimp it up a little bit with a cookbook, then it works.
Take note. And at that point, I think it's a good time to open questions up to the floor. If we have anyone that wants to ask Alex a question, please don't be shy. If you want to know, we probably all do too.
I know you guys release a lot of combinations. It's really good, like those home cooking and the latest one, 10 years, who cares? That's nice. And how many people select the tunes behind under the Jazzanova's name? And are they helps you guys a lot in when you guys having a hard time? So selling the combination is good for your company.
If I understood right, then I would say, compilations are quite, successful on our label, because there was the time where there were too much compilations around, and we had the feeling, we can't compete really, and but we've learned that compilations, if you do them with love and a special task, and take your time with sequencing, then it makes sense, because it helps the people. I mean, I remember when I started to buy music, there were like all the funk bootlegs around, and it helped me a lot to discover stuff, and because I couldn't afford all the other records, and so it's the same with these compilations. I mean, I really like the compilations with old music. We did the Brazilian compilation and the computer incarnation, and we did the Romanian jazz. Now it's the Cuban jazz coming, Turkish jazz is planned, and Argentinian jazz, and this is the stuff I really, really like. If it comes to new music, it's it should come different somehow, but like in a mix, or with a special idea behind it, or famous producers like For Hero, they just play like influential tunes and mix them with new material. That's the plan. But if it comes to like a Jazzanova compilation compiled by Jazzanova, then it's just Jürgen, my partner, and me. We put it together, and of course it helps a lot to sell a record, to put a big name on it. And I wouldn't say that we have like a big name, but a name which people hopefully can trust, and for quality. And it's, for us as a label, it's quite good to have Jazzanova on it.
So I was wondering about, for example, Love and You and I. Have you always, through the years, cleared all the samples for the material you put out?
We cleared a lot of the samples actually when we did it back in the day, and we had to actually, because we found out like the first sample, something is missing, and it was a #1 hit in the States in the 60s, and we thought, nobody knows that track. So it was, this record actually was from a sample point of view quite pricey. We paid a lot of the money which we nowadays use for musicians, we paid for the sample, so it's more or less the same. But even there were some people like contacting us, like Jeff Lorber, and we said, oh shit, no, we didn't clear that sample because it was so small. And he called us and he said, you used something of my music. And I said, yes, please, oh sorry. No, I wanted to say thank you and respect. That can happen as well. So some people are very easy and some others not. Mostly the original artists, if they are more or less successful in what they do, they are sometimes a bit easier, is my experience. And if you have sampled something from a record which with 500 releases, these people are a bit more stressy sometimes.
So have you ever decided not to put a track out because it was too much of a like narrow sample, or like?
Yeah. It's like 80% of what we do.
Okay.
It's not out.
I guess it's quite common. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Hi. Something I'm not quite clear on. I saw your gig at Supermarket, and I can tell you were playing like house music, that kind of. But your label, what you make, it's a lot of different styles, a lot of different tempos. So, do you have any gigs where you play more slower stuff, more funk, that kind of thing? And how do you decide what genre you stick to when you're a DJ?
That's a very good question. Yes, there are gigs. I see myself actually more as a radio DJ. I have a radio show, and the stuff I really like is to play a radio set, like 2 hours of just good music, whatever it is. Or if I play in Berlin in our on our own club night, I do a very long warm up and cool down as well. And this is where I play really eclectic, I would say. And if it comes to like a club gig like here, my experience over the years is that like if you booked as a DJ and the people wanna dance somehow, yeah. And I don't know if you listened to the DJ before on that night. He was
got there late.
On a very high level already. And for me it was quite hard to come down again a little bit, because it was the energy was so high already. So it was a bit difficult to start with, and if the audience is responding well, I can do my little journeys. But to be honest with you, I wasn't sure that night. It was a bit all over the place for me.
Seemed like a good reaction, though.
Yeah, there was a good reaction, but mostly for the uplifting, houseier, techie tunes, and this is the reason why we played them a bit more than normal, or I played them.
Great, thanks.
Hello.
Hello.
I can see many artists that come from the electronic scene of the 90s, like going some sort of acoustic, or like paying tribute to the things that they listened when they were young. I felt a great Morrissey feeling in your track, in your first track. So I'd like to ask you, what's that? Not in the sense that we are in a crisis, or there is a crisis in the DJ culture, but what's this moment we're on? Because even this event, as far as I know, was created to DJs, and now we have musicians, singers. What's that? What's with electronic culture?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that everybody moves somewhere. I hopefully that somebody moves somewhere, and everybody has a certain background, and everybody gets older as well. It sounds stupid, but it's like that. And I see myself more and more into like good songwriting than like latest production skills. I mean, if it comes together, it's perfect for me. If it's just one or the other, I would go now for the good songwriting. It has something to do with your, where you want to go to. I'm 35 now, and if I'm at home, I'm listening to good old or new music, and obviously not clubby, because
Yeah, but I'm asking about something more general. How do you see things? I see this. You're talking about your experience. I don't know if you think about this that I'm talking about, like this, this bigger phenomenon. I don't know.
Is
I'm
there,
just like,
is there a bigger phenomenon, really?
yeah, I don't know, but I see people like Cassius or like Chicken Lips and who else? Well, that you know that the names are missing for me, you know.
Okay.
But so don't you see something like that, or is that just you producers and getting older and getting like how can I say, getting better with songwriting, something like that?
I think it's also a question of what the people really want to hear somehow. Yeah, I mean the DJ culture really was founded like back in the 80s, I would say, 70s, 80s, and the DJ became very popular during the 90s, and there was a big, I would say, an overflow of DJs, and the clubs never ever booked bands anymore. Yeah, and now it changed a little bit. I mean, it's always up and down. You are on the same swing with the world or not. And if you're a DJ, you see that suddenly nobody books you anymore because they want to have live bands, because it's more the stuff the kids want. And probably some producers react to this and say, okay, the people want to have it like more live orientated, and they bring in guitars and trumpets, or they have a killer live show. I mean, even as a DJ or as an electronic music producers, you can be on stage and have a good show. It's not about checking emails on stage, but you have possibilities with Ableton Live and special mixing desk, whatever. And I mean, it could be, and I think the DJ thing now is just there, and it's equally there with the same importance than the live side of things, and it interacts good, I think. And I don't know, I don't have the solution for your problem.
No, there's no solution. Thank you. It's just to like start thinking about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
No? Okay. So just finally, if we do have the pleasure of going to Berlin, it seems the whole world is trying to move to Berlin right now. Don't know how you feel about that. Everyone I speak to in the UK is telling me they're moving to Berlin. But if we do visit Berlin and we want to catch you at a residency, or indeed any of the Jazzanova DJs, how do we do that?
It's not so easy right now.
Okay.
Because we just moved out of the club we played for a long time.
Right.
And I have my own little residency at the Weekend Club.
Okay, when is that?
It's once a month. It's I can't really say. It's the beginning, always in the first week of a month, on a Saturday. And that's it. The night is called Based on Misunderstandings.
Okay. Well, there's loads and loads and loads of more music we could have played, but we can all check that out in our own time. So, Alex, thank you very much indeed for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.